Good evening. My name's Adam Kelbie, and today we have the amazing Joe Cortez with us, who's an international boxing Hall of Fame referee, no doubt. Basically, the theme of today is understanding the art of scoring inside the mindset of a referee. And we've got one of the all time greats in the planet ever on today. Joe, it's an honour to have you on Fight Zone, and you've refereed some of the greatest fights in boxing history, I'd say, from like Mayweather to De La Hoya. But before we dive into judging, what inspired you to become a referee after your own boxing career?
Well, it was I was managing a hotel down in Puerto Rico, and
Hmm.
there was a gentleman by the name of Pat Mascia who was a guest at the hotel, and he called the operator. Said, "Can I speak to Mr. Cortez?" Then he said, "I got on the phone." He said, "Mr. Cortez, are you one of the Cortez brothers from New York that won all the Golden Glove championships?" I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "I used to referee your fights in New York City when you won the championship in Madison Square Garden." And he says, "And I'm here at your hotel. I'm a guest at your hotel." So I came down to the lobby and I greeted him and we talked for a while. Then we exchanged phone numbers. Then the following year, I was moving back to New York. I was born and raised in New York. I went back to New York. When I got back to New York, I called him up. Hey, Pat, this is Joe Cortez. How you doing? Hey, Joe, let's get together for lunch. So I went for lunch with him one day. He said, Joe, I was thinking about you getting involved as a amateur referee. I said, referee, I never thought about that. Like I just started with the Police Athletic League. And I started with them. And little by little, I was doing fights. And then I got to the Golden Glove tournament. When I was doing the Golden Glove tournament, they said, Joe, you normally just get to the preliminary fights in the Golden Gloves. The same quarterfinal, semifinals, and finals, you do it out the second year. I said, okay. So I started refereeing. And then I did a couple of shows. I mean, one night it was a big snowstorm in New York, in Brooklyn, New York. And there was 27 fights, a big snowstorm. Nobody showed up. No referee showed up. All the fighters showed up. No referee. The 27 fights. I got
Oh,
stuck doing 27 fights that
you've
night
done
by myself.
27 fights. Wow.
But yeah, they were novice. They were beginners, so they was somebody that had to stop in the first round, second round
Yeah.
fights. But anyway, so I finished doing that. Then a week later, I got a message in the mail that they got me doing the quarterfinals. I said, "Wow, quarterfinals!" They told me I got to wait at least a year for that. Anyways, I called Pat. Pat, I got a notice in the mail. They want me to do the quarterfinals. He said, "Joe, nobody does quarterfinals the first year." Anyway, well, he said, "Good luck with that." I did the quarterfinals. Then a couple of weeks, 2 weeks later, I got another notice in the mail. They got me doing semifinals. I called him up, Pat, you won't believe this. Then they got me doing semifinal fights. He said, Joe, I can't believe it. I have never heard of nobody doing semifinals, quarterfinals, semifinals first year. But it was great. Do a good job. I said, thank you. Then they said, I got another notice in the mail. 2 weeks later, I'm doing two championship fights in Madison Square Garden in the Golden Gloves. I called him up, Pat, I got championship fight, two championship fights. Joe, you got to be pulling my leg. Anyway, I did the two championship fights. Then a week later, I got a call from the New York State Athletic Commission, Deputy Commissioner Frank Morris. He said, Joe, I was watching you last week doing the championship fight at Madison Square Garden in the Golden Gloves. You know, I mean, that's unbelievable. You did a good job. How long you been refereeing? I said, 6 months. He said, Joe, you know what? He said, I want to turn you pro now. I said, but they told me you got to wait 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years. He said, no, you're ready to go pro now. I said, am I going to get any work? He said, yes, you're going to get work. So they got me on the show. They gave me a license. I started working right away, 4 rounders and 6 rounders. Every show he had me working 4 rounders and 6 rounders. And little by little, before you know it, I'm already a year and a half as a professional. I get another notice. Hey, Joe, you're doing your first main event on television, NBC World of Sports. I said, wow, that's great.
Mm.
So I did my first 10-round fight on Wide World of Sports. And then a couple of weeks later, I was at a show in New Jersey. I went to see a boxing show, and somebody introduced me to Jersey Joe Walcott, who was former heavyweight champion. He was the commissioner of the New Jersey State Athletic Commission. He said, Joe, I've been watching you on TV. You do a lot of preliminary fights in New York. Are you licensed? You're not licensed in New Jersey, right? I said, no. He said, I'm the commissioner here. I'd like to license you in New Jersey. So He said, go down to the office and see Bob Lee next week. I'll tell him you're coming in. We'll give you a license. I said, great. He gave me a license. So then I started refereeing in New Jersey. And then Larry Hans and myself started refereeing together. Then we started saying, we got to start giving some seminars. We started creating, we were trying to revolutionize refereeing,
Mm,
making the right calls, the right decisions, what to call a doctor in,
yeah.
what to take points away from a fighter, what to disqualify a fighter, to making the right calls as a referee. So we started giving seminars teaching that. Before you know it, I'm in my fifth year as a referee. I got a notice again from Bob Lee, New Jersey Deputy Commissioner. He said, Joe, you're doing your first world championship fight. I said, really? And that was my dream to do world title fight. He said, Joe, well, you doing Aaron Pryor and Miguel Montilla. That was 1982. So I did my first world title fight, and that's how it all started.
Wow. I mean, over the decades in the sport, how have you seen like the role of the referee and the level of judging like evolve? I mean, obviously you mentioned there that you were getting involved in that side of it of trying to break break the mold, if you like, of the old style refereeing into the new era. So how have you seen it since you've now retired? How have you seen the role of the referee and the level of
I
judging?
think the referees are going out to more seminars, which is something that's very much needed. We got to have more the referee going to seminars on a regular basis. Every state or every country, every commission should have at least two seminars a year for the judges and referees. So they make sure the judges are scoring the fight correctly. There's different criteria to score the fight. Like the
Hmm.
fight Saturday with Parker and was it
Hmm.
Hardy? And
Yeah, Woodley.
the judges had Parker ahead most of the rounds. He won at least 7 or 8 of those rounds. He had won already. And but then the guy, uh, what's the name? Harley.
Wardley.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. He came back real strong, and then he came to the point where he hurt Parker. Parker was hurt, and then he let it go. But then he came to a point where he would not throw any punches back, and then he decided he's going to jump in and stop it. He stopped the fight, and I think it was a good call because sometimes you live boxing, you see boxing. Remember the fight when Nigel Benz
Mhm.
stopped Harold Graham.
Yeah, of course.
Oh no! It was
Mi-
Mike McCullum,
Michael
Harold
McCullough.
McCullum, McCullum, and
Yeah, and obviously look what happened to he wasn't stopped in time or no
right,
fault of the referees or anything,
yeah,
but I mean a terrible tragedy. Just shows you what can happen, right? It really
right.
does show
Well,
you.
I'd rather stop at a punch too soon than a punch too late. So I
Exactly.
thought,
Yeah, you're right.
so I watched the fight Saturday, the highlight that I saw on TV and
Mhm.
whatnot, and I said, I said, I think the referee did a good job because he let it go longer, and Parker would end up in bad condition in a coma or something like that. They said, why
Sure.
did he stop it sooner? He had a chance to stop it. He didn't stop it. But so I think the fans would like to see Parker win, but you know what? The referee made the right call. I think.
I think it was. I mean, you were a fighter yourself before becoming a referee. Obviously, you mentioned as well. And but how did that experience inside the ropes, I suppose, shape your
Well,
instincts when it
it,
comes
it,
to
it
inside?
definitely helped me a lot to
Yeah.
know when a fighter's hurt. So when I was in the ring with a fighter, and I know I had him hurt, then I would put the pressure on him. So it was the referee. I look and see when the guy got a little hurt. I put myself in the position of the aggressive fighter who's trying to punch. I put myself in this position. I said he's ready to be taken. He's ready to go, and that's when I jump in and stop it. Sometimes referees let the fight go a little too long, and that's not
Mm.
good. I see a lot of fighters today that they can hardly speak. They don't have, the memory is gone. They
Yeah.
don't remember anything. The other day I was at the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame when I got inducted 2 weeks ago in Atlantic City, and I was watching some of the fighters that got inducted. Two of them couldn't speak, and they had to be escorted with the wife and one with
Oh,
a sister up to the microphone. They couldn't speak. They had to speak on the behalf of the fighter, and that's so sad to see that.
yeah, of
You don't,
course.
you don't, you don't want to see fighters taking unnecessary punishment. You want to see them come back another day.
Of course. I mean, for as much as us fans love it, there's we do hate seeing that. That's for sure. So,
Yeah,
what would you say was the toughest part of transitioning from a boxer to a referee? Was it like earning respect, reading fighters differently, or maybe even dealing with the pressure in the spotlight? Because I'm sure you've got all the eyes on you. and
Well,
it's
I learned to deal with the pressure with all the fans. When I used to fight Madison Square Garden, there was 12,000, 15,000 fans when I was refereeing
wow,
the fights there. So
yeah,
I'm used to a big crowd. But then you got like a Mike Tyson. I refereed Mike Tyson on 8 different occasions.
hmm
Okay, and I just shoot with Atlanta, Camacho, Larry Holmes, you name. I've done them all. Roberto Duran, I ran Barkley, Sugar Shea Mosley. Oh, well, there were so many. Um, Manny Pacquiao. I did
of
so many
course,
fights, but I don't want to let the names of the fighter or the reputation influence me on what I got to do. So I look at fighter A, fighter B, and I
hmm
say, I'm not gonna when they take off that championship belt, they hand the belt over to the commission table. Now there's no champ. As far as I'm concerned, there's no champion in the ring.
yeah,
The
yeah,
fight in the blue corner, fight in the red corner. Okay, I bring them up together. I give them the final instructions. But prior to the final instructions in the dressing room, before the fight, I give them the pre-fight instructions in the dressing room, and that's
Mhm.
where I was able to address them with the. I know they got a habit of hitting low blows, or they got a habit of headbutting, excessive
Yeah,
holding, spitting out the mouthpiece intentionally. Sometimes they hit the opponent when they're at the canvas. So
yeah,
I do my homework before the fight. When I
yeah,
go to the dressing room, I know exactly how I got to address them. I say, listen, I know you got a habit of hitting low blows. I'm going to tell you right now, you start with low blows, we're going to start with a clean slate today. But you start with low blows, I may give you warnings or I may disqualify you. There may be point deductions. The worst thing I don't want to do is disqualify you, but if I have to, I will.
mhm,
Anyway, so they already know. I gave them the free pride instructions. I go back in the ring. Okay, gentlemen, we went over the rules in the dressing room. I want a good, clean fight. Protect yourselves at all time. Touch them up. And then, remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch them up. And that's it. The fight starts. But they already know that I'm a no-nonsense referee. They've been watching me for many years. So the more that they see me refereeing fight, they know Joe Cortez, they're going to
he's not
make
gonna
the right calls. And sometimes, the fans are not happy with the calls the referee make. But I know we study and we try to do the best we can.
of course,
Make sure the fighters don't take unnecessary punishment.
in the moment as well. I'm going on moments. What would you say the defining moment in your early refereeing career is when you realised, you know what, I'm making it here on the world stage as far as refereeing goes. When was
I
that
always thought,
defining? When was that moment when you thought, oh, I mean, I know you said you had a few, obviously you had the world championship fights. But even then, I mean, just how you explained it, you're talking about. It seemed to be quite a whirlwind in comparison to maybe what uh, another type of referee might have done in his career when he's taken 5, 10, 10 years to even get anywhere near there.
I look at every fight as a new beginning. I
Yeah.
forget about the past. You know, your last fight could be that was your last performance. You got to forget about that. Every fight is a new start. I always believe that every fight when I'm in there with a 4 rounder, 6 rounder, 8 rounder, 10 rounder, 12 round championship fight, I try to take it like a new fight. I don't take nothing for granted. I know that your last fight was your last performance. I don't know to do with what's going to happen next. People judge you for your consistency. I did 176 world championship fights, from what I've been told. And
Wow.
my dream was to do one. When I retired, boxing got me for 990 something professional fights. But there's 2 years in box rate that they don't have me recorded. I turned pro 77. They don't
Mm.
have me in box rate 77, 78. They don't have that on there. And
Yeah.
I had at least a good 70, 80 fights on top of what I already had. Box
Um,
rate got 2 years missing. Just like box rate has my wrong my professional fight that I had as a fighter myself. They got me down for I think 11 or 12 fights. I did 19 pro fights.
wow. I mean, there must have been an element that the fact that you're a referee that also was a fighter as well. I'm sure the fighters had some respect because of that. But you're also known for your composure in chaotic moments. So how do you mentally prepare for a major fight to stay calm and decisive? I know you kind of said, well, you're used to the big crowds. You fought at Madison Square Garden, but especially when you had, you're going to have certain characters, and I know said you've done your homework on them and everything like that. But how do you stay composed in those moments?
Well,
What's your routine?
I'm a person that I try not to get worried. I don't. The pressure doesn't bother me. I'm always an easygoing guy. I don't let nothing bother me. I told my family, I told my friends, take it easy, guys. Learn how to deal with the pressure. I learned how to deal with that. But I learned how to deal with that when I was a fighter.
Yeah.
When I was going into championship fights in the Golden Gloves, I won six of them. When I won the National Golden Glove Championship, Emmanuel Stewart was a great trainer. But he was a fighter before that too. He was fighting the same era when I was fighting.
Mhm.
And one day he came up to me in Germany. I was doing a championship fight in Germany. He came up to me and said, "Hey Joe, are you that boxer from New York City, the skinny guy from New York that won the Golden Glove Championship that you beat us in Germany, Chicago? You know us in Germany?" I said, "Yeah." "You're the one that beat him in Chicago for a national championship?" I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Joe, that's the guy that beat me in the semifinals. I didn't get to the finals because Oscar German, and you beat Oscar German. Was that a difficult fight?" I said, "Well, I was 17 years old. I know he was a tough fighter, but it was one of my easiest fights. He could hardly touch me the whole championship fight, and I won easily." He said, "Well, Joe, I didn't get to the finals because of him. He beat me." But anyway, so I learned how to deal with pressure. I deal how to deal with these tough opponents, and I know how to deal with Mike Tyson. I
Mhm.
remember referee Mike Tyson. I used to always go to the dressing room and give me the instructions. And I tell you, okay, Mike, I know you've been knocking everybody out in one round, two rounds, whatever. Every fight to me is like a new fight. But I can tell you one thing: I would expect a good, clean fight from you. I don't want you to take unnecessary punishment. I don't want your opponent to take unnecessary punishment. I'm here to protect you. You understand that? He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Okay, just remember, if I got to take points from you, I will." And I remember his last fight when he kept fought Kevin McBride. Uh, that was Mike Tyson's last fight,
Yeah.
and that was the eighth fight I did for it. I took 2 points from Mike Tyson for headbutting his opponent.
Mhm.
Everybody felt like, "Wow, Joe, man, I thought you were friendly with him." I said, "I'm not friends with nobody. When it comes to boxing, I'm there to do a job. I
Yeah.
treat them like a fighter A, fighter B." So I took 2 points from Mike Tyson in the sixth round, and Mike got pushed off by Kevin McBride. It was not a knockdown. I said, "No knockdown." Then he was the bell rung. Then I waited for, "Come on, Mike, get up, get up." Finally got up. He had no legs. He went to his corner, and Jeff Fennick, his trainer for that particular fight, he looked at me and I looked at him. And Jeff Fennick went like that, no, and I said, "Okay, that's it." And I stopped the fight, and people said, "Joe, were you afraid that Mike Tyson would get upset that you stopped the fight?" I said, "Well, I covered my ears real quick, make sure he was loser." But
Yeah.
but
Of
no,
course.
I had no fear of anybody when it comes to refereeing. I took action. I did them all. I remember when I stopped by Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard, all his pro fights, he never got stopped until he refereed his last fight with Hector Camacho in Atlantic City. And I remember I stopped the fight, and when I stopped him, I had him against the rope. I held him in my arms. I waved it off. That's it. Camacho hurt him. He had him wobbly up against the rope. I waved in my ear. He said, "Thanks, Joe." So fighters sometimes they know
I know.
they're to protect them. I don't want to see guys getting
Of
hurt
course.
seriously. But one thing, the pressure, like you said, you asked me the
Mhm.
question, the pressure. I don't let pressure bother me. I don't let names of fighters bother me. I don't get attached to fighters. Sometimes you see pictures with fighters, they got their arms around me. I can't help when I raise their hand up in the air when they want to regain the championship or they won the championship. I raise their hand up. It doesn't mean that they put their arms around over my shoulder like Mayweather did with me. Everybody say, "Joey, look at he's your buddy." I said, "I got no buddies in boxing." They put their arms around me. I can't help that. The photographer's taking pictures. He put his arm around me when they're raising their hand up in the air.
Yeah. Of course.
You know,
And
but I
they can
try to do my fight.
they
There was
can
a
spin
I'm
it
not,
any.
I did a fight for about Ricky Hatton. He rested in peace. What a
Oh,
great
bless.
fighter. What a
Bless.
great fighter. What a great person he was.
Yeah.
It was a shame to see him go like that, so young.
Oh,
I
100%.
always liked Ricky Hatton. I thought he was
A real British personality as well.
yeah,
And
yeah. He
sorely
was a
missed.
sweetheart, good guy. And then
Yeah.
every time I used to see him, he was always so kind with everybody. Always come up to you, shake your hand, and
Very
everything.
funny man as well. Very
Yeah,
funny.
and I
Good
remember that.
sense.
Yeah, he was very funny. I remember doing this fight with Floyd Mayweather, and a lot of people say, "Joe, come on, you didn't let Ricky Hatton fight his fight." I said, "Well, in boxing, we don't allow excessive holding, or holding too much inside. Holding is okay, but not excessive holding. And sometimes when it gets to a point where the referees gotta separate the fighters, from one another because." So I tell me in the dressing room, I don't want holding. Holding is okay, but not excessive holding. And
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it
yeah.
gets to be like a wrestling match, I kind of say, no, we can't do that. I
Of
try,
course.
yeah, and that's my style. I don't care who's in that ring. It's excessive holding. I stop the action. You say, come on, break out, come on, give me a clean fight. No holding. So excessive holding can cost you points, or you may be disqualified. So but Ricky Hatton fought a good fight. Ricky Hatton was one of my favorite fighters. I like the way he fought. I like the way I mean, as a person behind the
Mm.
scenes, but people that didn't know Ricky Hatton, he was a hell of a guy.
I mean,
Always funny. Always
he
funny.
certainly had that. He certainly brought some. I'm sure you can remember, and I'm because well, you were there. But in Vegas, he certainly brought an element of the Brits singing and the football, the football soccer, as you guys call it, soccer
Yeah,
like mentality over there.
yeah.
I remember it very very well. Um,
Yeah, I remember Tom Jones was singing the British national anthem that day, and a guy Ray J, I think it was,
yeah, yeah,
J Ray. They both said that he said the national anthem for the United States, and
amazing,
Tom Jones
amazing,
for
amazing
Great Britain.
concerts
It was about 5,000 British came to see uh,
all the way to Las
the
Vegas.
Empire.
Yeah, I
I
mean that
remember
was.
it was an honor. It was an honor meeting Tom Jones that day, and I raised his head up in the air like a champion after he finished singing the national anthem. I
Oh,
mean,
he's
it was
an
good.
absolute
It was
an
always good.
absolute national treasure. That one, Tom
Yeah,
Jones. A
you
lot
know,
of
I was
so
not a favorite. I was not a favorite referee with some of the Brits when I did the Ricky Hatton fight, but I accept that. That's okay. The fans have a right to boo whoever they want to boo. That's okay. But I know the fans say when they watch me fight, they say Joe was always doing a good job.
yeah,
But
exactly.
that night they had a root for the local fighter, the Brit fighter, Ricky Hatton, and I accept that. And I told referee, you got to be prepared for that because fans are going to boo you sometimes, and sometimes they're going to cheer you on. You just do your job and try to be the best you can as a referee.
It's a circus. It's a bit of a circus when it gets like that. But you are doing your job, and that brings me on to what I was going to ask you here, because a lot of fans think scoring is simply about who lands more punches, right? But there's a lot more to it. Can you walk us through the
Yeah.
the official
The judges,
criteria that judges
okay,
score
okay.
around it?
First of all, judges, as far as I'm concerned, judges are not saying in the right position. I think from day one, when they created boxing hundreds of years ago, they saw the judges right there at ring level. They should have the judges a little bit higher. I think if you're much higher, you can see better.
I agree.
That's why in tennis they have the umpires on the high right chair so they can see the lines. They don't miss anything from up there. But if you bring that judges down, they'll miss a lot. And that's what happened with boxing. I did a study and Read Magazine, they like my idea. They say Joe is most simplest but most ingenious idea of raising the judges up higher. And you can see I did a study, and the study proved that the judges up higher, I had three at the top and three at the bottom. And it did the study, and the ones on the bottom were missing like 10 to 19 punches per
I
round
bet.
per judge. And at the top, the most they were missing at the top was 1 to 2 punches at the top. Then the judges at the top were bringing it down to the bottom. The ones at the bottom were bringing it up to the top. Same thing. They were missing everything at the bottom. They were missing 90% more than they did the ones on the top. So it goes to show that sometimes the the the, the judges score the fight. Sometimes you can't score what you don't see. They tell the judge when you get someone else, so you score when the punches hit solid. But if you don't see it, you can't call it. So
Yeah, yeah,
if you
yeah.
got the wrong angle, the judge sitting on the left side saw something that the one on the left side didn't see, or the one on the far side didn't see. So I say that assistive aggressiveness. You be the aggressor. That's good, but you got to be effective. If you come in forward, you're not going to be getting hit. You got to go forward and don't get hit. You're hitting your opponent. You got the clean up blows. And the opponent who's most likely the opponent who's going the aggressor is the one that's going to be trying to clean the harder blows.
Mhm,
Then the defense very important. You got defense, effective aggressiveness, and the harder blows. And then they
mhm,
have a ring generalship. They have the four criteria. It's going
mhm.
around. But the most important thing is effective aggressiveness, the cleaner blows, the harder blows. That's who gets to fight the
That you
round.
think that's so? In your experience, you say that the effective aggression tends to be what the judges are, more
Yeah,
scoring on. Okay.
exactly. But they're tired the judges. They miss some punches because of the angle. And if a judge is sitting right here, and the fighter you're here by the rope, and the fighter got his back to you right there, his
Yeah.
opponent's on the other side, and then you don't know if the guy goes back or if he hit the other guy with a punch. You miss it, but the guy at the left saw it and the one on the right saw it, but you didn't see it.
Yeah.
It's a different angle. But if you go up higher, you can see all three of you guys can see the same punch being landed. And
So
I did
how
it
much
with study.
weight do you think should, personally, how much weight do you think should be given to like general ship compared to punch accuracy or damaging someone?
Effective, the harder, the cleaner blows is the most effective one, and effective aggressiveness.
Mhm.
Defense is good, but have, you know, you gotta have offense. You gotta be nailing some guy with good solid left hooks, good solid right hand punches, body to the. A lot of judges miss all the body shots that get hit to the body. They miss that, but you kill the body, the head dies.
Mhm.
You got a good body punches like Mike McCullum was a good. Julio Cesar Chavez had a great left hook to the body. Some fighters are good to the body, but you're trained to hit the body. You're not to win out of them. They got no legs. They start losing it all when you work the body. Some fighters, some trainers will tell the fighter, listen, I know you're a good body puncher. Start going to the body the first 2 or 3 rounds. Then after that, then we start combinations. Then we go with the left hooks and the right hand. We have you mix it up. Some fighters get a real bad cut, and now they got to change their pattern of the style of the fight. So when you got a bad cut, now you more on the defense. Now you're not offense as much. You're not aggressive as you were before the cut. But when the cut occurs, some fighter get cut up over both eyebrows, and they
Mhm.
say, okay, well you can protect yourself if you keep your hands up to protect for getting hit with those punches. But if you open up to throw more punches, they're going to hit you. You're going to make it worse. It can open up more. They can stop the fight. Sometimes the cuts are caused by a headbutt, maybe an
Mhm.
accidental headbutt. But then sometimes after 4 completed rounds, you go to the scorecard. Who's ever had wins. But if it's before the 4 rounds, then you call it a no decision.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't say no contest because there was a contest. You say no decision before 4 completed rounds. So if the champion stays champion and the challenger, he didn't win either. But the champion would not lose a fight, or whoever got cut from an accidental headbutt before completed round, it's a no decision. After that, like I said before, you go to the scorecard.
How do you think now technology, like punch stats and replays and AI, there's AI assisted scoring now. How much do you think that could help or hurt the human
I
element?
think somebody's going to come up with something with modern day technology today. They got
Mm.
so many things that are happening today, and one of the things I say is that they will come up with. They're probably going to eliminate the judges eventually. They're going to just have to referee in the ring. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I mean, you're only human. You can only, like I said, you can only score what you see, and sometimes at home on television you see better than
Of
what the
course.
judges see at ringside because of the angles of the camera. The camera show different angles and whatnot. The referees don't have the luxury of seeing those punches being landed.
Does
The
it take
camera,
does it take the fun? Does it take the fun element out? I mean, does it take that element away from it? I know sometimes in soccer in the UK now that we have this VAR and and it stops the game. People are looking, they're checking it, and I know in boxing it could be a lot different because you carry on, and at the end you're scored. So it probably works very well in boxing, I should
yeah,
imagine. Uh,
yeah.
but there's also an element that 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 it's that beautiful thing that you're waiting for the scorecards. It's such a beautiful element in
Yeah,
boxing. We
it's
all see
beautiful
it at
sometimes,
home.
but sometimes sometimes you have these bad. You have a lot of split decisions. Or you have a
Mm,
decision sometimes. The judges score one. Like I remember, I had a fighter. My mentor got me started in boxing. He was back in the 50s and 60s. Gaspar Indian Ortega. Gaspar Ortega had 180 professional fights. He fought Emma Griffin for the title. But you know, I can always say that you know sometimes you got the fighters, you get fighters that are aggressive and they throw good punches. Gaspar had good defense. He was a good puncher. Gaspar, like I said, he had 180 some professional fights. But in boxing, you know, you can have all the great fights in the world, and the judges score fight. There was a judge in the fight out with Gaspar Ortega. Arthur Candy gave 8 rounds to two, and the other two judges, 8 rounds to two other judges gave it to the champion
mhm.
to the he's not champion at the time. Emma Griffith. It was a 10 round fight when Emma Griffith was not champion yet. But two judges gave Emma Griffith 10-8, and Ultimate Candidate, a great referee, gave it to Gaspar Ortega 8-2. So so what happened there? Did the other two judges miss a lot, or did they? How could the judge give 8 rounds to a fighter and the other judges gave 8 rounds to the other one, to fighter A and fighter B? It
Well,
doesn't make sense.
yeah, I mean, obviously you've got the best seat in the house, really, when you're out there refereeing. You see,
No,
so I mean, how do you find yourself thinking? I mean, do you
well,
sometimes think I would have scored that a lot differently? You can sit there,
no,
maybe you've even gone to some of the judges after and gone, look, I don't think that was right.
no. Let me tell you, when I first started refereeing back in 1977, my first 10 years as a referee, I was also a judge. They had two
Right.
judges, and the referee was the third judge plus a referee. The referee had a dual job, judging and officiating the fight.
Mhm.
So the first 10 years, I was judging, and they were saying, Joe, you're doing pretty decent. I got a call from the Nevada State Athletic Commission, a guy named Chuck Minka, who was second director back at the time. He called me up back in, I think it was 1990. He said, Joe, I'm calling you. You're going to come out to Vegas. You're going to judge a fight. I said, judge or referee? He said, no, you're going to judge because I've been watching you. You're scoring. You've been scoring for the last 10 years as a referee. Your scoring was always pretty accurate, and I can see that you're good. So we're going to call you for a championship fight. And he said, you're going to be judging Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks, the
Wow.
rematch. The rematch. I said, okay. I came out to Vegas and I did the fight, and I gave the fight to Larry Holmes. And the other two judges gave it to Michael Spinks. And they were booing like crazy. I thought they were booing me. And the commission came up to me. The commission came up to me and said, Joe, they're not booing you. They're booing the two judges. You're the one who had it right.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody thought that Larry Holmes won the fight. You had it right, Joe. So anyway, there goes to show sometimes, you know, uh, as the referee in the ring helps me to become a judge as well. But when I'm refereeing now, when I refereed 35 years, the last 25 years, I was scoring the fight. Now I was focusing more on the safety of the fighters. And that's
Mhm.
why they did away with the referee scoring. They want you to focus on the safety of the fighter and let the other two, they brought in a third judge, and let the judges do the scoring. So some people can't do dual thing, the judge and referee at the same time. I had no problem with it.
Mhm.
People, the judge and referees could do it. They could do both. They say, okay, but now you just focus on the refereeing. And I had uh, so much fun refereeing the fight. I enjoyed doing the fight, but I
Yeah.
also was watching out for these fights. I don't want nobody getting hurt. I say, let it come back another day.
Yes.
Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Leonard, big name fighters, and I had to stop their fights. That's the way it goes. I remember one time I refereed Manny Pacquiao and a woman named Marquez. And Marquez went down 3 times in the first round. And people say, oh my God, Joe, you should stop the fight when he went down the third time. But you know what? It was in the first round. He was still not, they were flash knocked out. They were not serious knocked out. And Emma Pacquiao threw one more punch when Marquez's glove was already touching the canvas. The glove touched the canvas. When he hit the canvas, and then one more punch came after the glove had touched the canvas. And Marquez looked at me like, come on, Joe, he hit me, my glove was already on the canvas. I saw his reaction on his face. Not that he told me that, but I could see the reaction. He was like, come on, Joe, he hit me, my glove was on the canvas. I saw he was still alert. He knew what was going on. So I said, you know what? I started counting over him the third time, and then he got up and he did pretty good. Even though he got knocked out 3 times, he came back pretty strong in that first round. And Baram, the promoter, said it best when they fought the fourth time. He said it best. He says, one thing you guys got to remember, Baram said at the press conference, you got to remember the referee, Joe Cortez, had he stopped the first fight 2, 3, or 4 would have never occurred.
That's
You know,
true.
so
That's true.
that's why the referee got to have good judgment. Me being the next fighter and me doing my homework, be very alert how the fighter got knocked down. Now, had he got knocked down like that in the eighth or ninth round, I probably would have stopped it because he probably already taken a lot of punches. But this was the beginning of the fight, the first 2 minutes of the fight when he went down. I said, he's not ready. He still has it. He still responded real good. And you know what? And I made the right call. But I told referees, so don't try to copy me. Try to use your judgment and use it the right way. If a fighter gets knocked down like that, you gotta look at him close, making sure that he's okay to continue. but don't try to be a hero and let the fight continue just because he
Just
has
because
a
it.
name.
Sure.
I mean, he was not the champion. Pacquiao was the champion, but like I said before, fighter A, fighter B, there's no champion in there, and I did the right thing, so I made the right call.
I mean, what's one thing you would, what's one thing about refereeing that you wish every fan or every commentator truly understood? What's that one thing that you go, if you just understand? I mean, is it because, like you're saying, that you're there for their welfare, not, as much as the fans are there because they pay to watch a fight or they're anything, especially these big pay-per-views things now. But you're not there. You're there to make sure, one, it's a fair contest, and two, that those
Yeah.
men are walking home and being with their wives or being with their girlfriends or whatever that night.
Yeah, I don't care who's there, and I don't care how famous they are, how popular. I don't care if they are defeated. My thing is, I do my homework. I study real close, and I always remember my. They always say, Joe, your most important thing in your job as a referee is the safety of the fighters, regardless who it is. And I always say that to keep that in mind. Regardless who it is, you have to always try to say to yourself, I have to protect these guys. I don't want to get hurt. And some referees may be afraid of stopping it because it's a world championship fight. Yeah, 80,000 people out there watching the fight. I bet when I was doing Chavez at Great Haugen at Mexico City, they had 133,000 fans. And I went in there and I looked around, I looked to the left, and I looked to the right. As far as I can see, 133,000 fans.
Wow.
In my mind, I think to myself, but I got to do my job. I don't care if Chavez commits a foul, if I got to take points, if I got to disqualify him, or if I got to stop this fight, I got to do it. I got to do it. But I'm not going to be intimidated by the fighter, by the fans, or the commentators. I do what I have to do. And you know what? To this day, I remember one time I did a fight in Korea, and it was a Filipino fighter against a South Korean fighter. And the Filipino fighter, the Korean fighter had a small little cut, nothing, like tiny cut. He was bleeding from it, and the quarterman said, "Hey, doc," he said, "Ref, call the doctor in." I said, "Call the doctor." Anyway, I called the doctor to look at it. There was nothing, and the doctor said, "Hey, you know, it's okay." Then I went to the commission, and I told that Bob Lee was the vice president of the he was the president of IBF. It was an IBF title fight. And I went over there. I said, Mr. Lee, that the cut was produced from a legal punch. Okay, just remember, legal punch. You have to tell the referee. Your job as the referee, you got to tell the commission where the cut occurs, was it a headbutt or a punch. So I told him it came from a legal punch. Okay, that was the first round. The second round, the cornerman for the Korean fighter, they wanted the doctor in again. I'm saying, why do you call it that? Why did the doctor? Nobody wants a doctor in there for a little spinal cut like that. Anyway, the doctor said, you know, it's okay, okay, But now when they back in those days, it was So anyway, so after four completed rounds,
Mhm.
he said, okay. The doctor looked. He said, "Okay, stop the fight." I said, "Stop the fight? It's nothing. It's nothing cut." He said, "You got to stop the fight." I said, "I came from a punch." He said, "No, I came from a headbutt." I said, "No, no, no, kid. I came from. I told you from the beginning." And I told the commission, "Hey, you see what they're doing? They're trying to get the fight to be stopped. The fight. They came from a headbutt. No, it didn't come from a headbutt. It came from a punch." So anyway, so I go to raise the Filipinos' hand up in the air, and they came. They pulled my arm down. I said, "No, no, you can't do that." No, 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 that came from headbutt, headbutt. I said, no, wait. Anyway, all the fans were waiting to see. And I told the commissioner, Bob Lee, the commissioner, I'll tell you for the first round, that came from a legal punch. So the Korean does not win. The Filipino, retains the title.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
because
I mean, has there ever been any fights where you've officiated where after you're watching the replay, later on that night you thought, yeah, actually I can see why the public might have saw it differently. Are there anywheres where you thought, yeah, maybe I
yes,
got that wrong?
yeah. One time I was doing a fight with Joe Casabayol, and I think he was a fighter by the name of Freitas from Brazil. And
Yeah.
Casabayol got knocked down. At least I thought it was a knockdown. I gave it a knockdown, but then, yeah, but we didn't have this replay back then. But
Yeah.
when I came home, he took it. He said, "Come on." He said, "Ref." I said, "No, that was a knockdown because the punch was thrown." But then after I watched the replay at home, not after the fight, we'd have replay. I saw the replay at home. I saw he got tripped by his foot. I said, "Oh man, that was a trip," and I called it a knockdown. You see. So sometimes you make a mistake like that, but you're the human. You make
I mean, do you think that instant replay should become like standard in all world
yes.
fights
I
to
think it
support
should be
referees?
standard because they have instant replay
Mhm.
and a lot of the major sports. They got it in American football. They got it in boxing now. They have it. Certain sports they have it, and I think that they should have it across the board. Every country, every commission should have instant replay. But sometimes they say, it's kind of difficult for us with the truck, the camera people to set up the camera with a computer in front of the replay official. I said, this is difficult, but they worked it out. We started doing it here in Las Vegas, and I believe New Jersey was doing it for a while too. But instant replay is so important.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, what do you think of the scoring system, like the 10-point must system? Do you think that needs to be modernised, or do you still think it's the best way to judge a fight
Well,
fairly?
I believe in trying any way they think that people think, especially with today's modern day technology, and there's ways that they can try to fix it up more, to make it more professional, like to make it better for the fighters, and making sure that the judges score it the right way. But modern day technology may be the way. I know WBC has something that they put the headphones so you could drown out the crowd, so that the judges score what they hear, not what they see.
Mhm.
See, so they put the headphones at WBC does not here in the United States, but I believe they do it in foreign countries,
I
so the
mean,
judges don't hear the crowd. But I think there's got to be with today, but with AI, I think they're going to come up
yeah.
with something eventually.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they're going
there's
to
talk about this open scoring, isn't there? There's talk
I,
about open
I
scoring.
think AI they're going to be able to detect whether it was a light a quick jab.
Yeah,
Was
I
it
think so.
hard? Or was it a left hook? Was it solid? Or did he miss him? Or did he roll with the punch?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there's a
Once
lot
he
of things
gets
that
right in there,
you
I
know
agree with you. I
AI
mean,
can determine. Will eventually watch. AI will be able to determine who's hitting the harder blows. Yeah,
yeah. I
who's
mean,
gonna
eventually, I should imagine it will be able to just determine who's going to win.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it's
and
going
you
to be
see the
that
harder
good.
blows, which is most, and the defense is good because your defense, you get away from a lot of punches, you're moving and you're blocking a lot of punches, good. But sometimes, a lot of judges, like I said before, you can't score what you don't see.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think about this? There's talk of this open scoring, which revealing scores after each round, if you like. Do you think that improves transparency or change how fighters approach the bout? I think if, I certainly think there's an element if it's open scoring and they're getting scored after each round, it might, because I think there's been, I mean, well, there certainly has
Well,
been
well,
fights
well,
that I've
well,
watched.
the WBC has open scoring uh,
Mhm.
out of the United States.
Yeah.
I believe they score after every 4 rounds. They say
Mhm.
who's ahead. So if I'm ahead 8 rounds, I know I got 8 rounds won. The last 4 rounds, I'm just gonna move around. I'm not gonna kill myself. I know I got 8 rounds in the bag. So and it will be fair to the fans to see a fighter who's not giving it his 100%. Now he's holding back because he knows he already hurt. He's already winning 8 rounds. So what am I going to kill myself for the next four? I'm just going to play around with this guy for the next 4 rounds. He can win the next 4 rounds. I got the fight won already. So
Mhm.
I don't agree with open scoring.
What advice? Let's talk about anyone that's out there that might be watching. That they've got aspirations to be a referee in the boxing world. What advice would you give to young referees and judges coming up now who want to maintain integrity and consistency at such a high pressure? In such a high
I
pressure
tell
environment.
the referee you should go to a local gym and
Mhm.
referee and move around with the fight, whether it's sparring, whether it's amateurs or professional. Be around there, moving around with them in the ring, practice your ring mechanics, and just treat your sparring session like if it was a real fight. A lot of referees don't do enough training. If you only referee once every 2 or 3 months, what kind of training are you getting? That's not enough. That's
Mhm.
why when I was refereeing, constantly refereeing 3 or 4, 5, 6 shows a month, I was always active. And I was also going to a gym and moving around. I was so caring about the way I was refereeing. I bought a boxing ring and I put a boxing ring in my garage, a real professional boxing ring, an 18 by
Excellent.
18 boxing ring, 3 feet above the ground, and I
Yeah.
would be in there and I would be moving around. Sometimes I'd bring some amateur fighters in my ring, and just so I could practice my ring mechanics. That's how seriously I took my refereeing. I told referees out there watching, if you want to be a good referee, practice as much as you can. Go to your local gym, and carry the rules like you do in the regular fight. So when you spar in the sparring session, carry it like if it was a real fight. All right, come on, guys, watch your head. Hey, keep the punches up.
Mhm.
Watch your sense of holding, no holding, no holding. Come on, let him go. Do it practicing. You do it 2 or 3 times a week. Plus, that so when you get ready to go do your next show, you're warmed up. You don't see baseball players come out of the dugout and or soccer players go out there and start playing. They warm up first. So you're warming up as a referee. It's your training prior to the fight. You're training 3 or 4 days a week. Keep yourself ring mechanics going. Keep yourself in good condition. Keep your weight good. I still weigh 154 pounds right now. This morning, 154. And when I retired from boxing, I weigh 160. So
Really?
so I keep myself in shape.
Mhm.
Because people look at it as a referee. They want to look at a referee. Got to move around with these featherweights, lightweights. They move around real quick. You got to stay up with them. A lot of referees get
So
themselves get all.
you're dancing around that ring. I mean, obviously you're moving, but it's, the way you step,
Yeah,
moving, keeping
you got
that fight.
you got
I
to
mean,
move
you're known
around.
for your phrase. You're known for your phrase, "fair but firm." How does that philosophy apply to mental discipline needed for scoring and officiating fairly under pressure? Is would you say that's your ethos?
Well, let
Fair
me
but
tell you,
firm.
I tell the fighters, well, that's why when I go to the restroom, I will do an interview like we're doing right now, and
Yeah.
people say, "Hey, Joe, what does it take to be a good referee?" I mean, you in the same question you asked me now. What does it take? I said, well, you got to be fair with the fighters, but by the same token, you got to be firm. In other
Yeah.
words, let them fight the fight. Okay, I'm fair with you. I'm gonna let you get away with certain things, but I'm gonna be firm. You understand that? So they say,
Mhm.
okay. And then when I do the interview, I listen to the interview, the replay, and I say, I'm fair, but I'm firm. I kind of like that. I think I'm gonna use that. Mills Lane got his own. Mills Lane, man, he rest in peace. He had his own catchphrase. He said, "Let's get it on."
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah.
know, remember that? I said, Mills Lane got his. I said, I'm gonna make my own. Fair but firm. I'm gonna use that. And people love it. People
Yeah.
all
Of
over the
course.
world, people call me Mr. Fair but firm. You know,
That's amazing. Yeah. And
I
it's
just
a
try, I try to be fair with everybody. But the thing is that I love boxing. I love the fighters. I treat them like if they were my own children. I don't want them to get hurt. It's like let's go play, but nobody gets hurt. You know.
yeah. I mean, you've mentored many referees. What traits separate, a good referee from a great one in your eyes?
Like I said before, training every day, being sharp, being an ex-fighter helps a lot too. Even though I see some referees who never fighter, like Arthur McCanty and Kenny Bayless and other great referees I've seen that never fought, but they were decent referees. But I think being an ex-fighter like myself and being a bantamweight, I was constantly moving. I was moving all over the place. I could go backwards, sideways, forward, anyway. I had good footwork, and dancing was another good thing for me. I used to love to dance the salsa, and salsa was dancing, and that helped me a lot in the ring. 'Cause I'd be moving around the ring. I'd be moving to the left, to the right, go forward, go backward. I would say, "Wow!" People say, "Joe, man, you move around like a dancer." I said, "Well, I just love refereeing. I love dancing. I love staying in shape." And I think that we all got to take boxing seriously. I think staying in shape is so important. You know,
Mhm.
ring mechanic, get in front of a mirror and practice. Hey, headbutt. Holding. Low
Mhm.
blows, keep your punches up. You go like
Mhm.
that in front of a mirror. You practice all these things, and you say, okay, that's the way I got to do it. I got to fine tune the way. I don't say, hey, break, break, break. You're holding. You got to go like this. You're holding. You can't tell them verbally because then you start taking points, and people say, wow, he never warned them. You been telling him all that up, but if you give the signal, watch your head, keep
Mhm.
your punches up. You give me this, even the guys up in the rafters, the further seated in the arena, they can see, he's wanting him for low blows, or he's wanting him for holding, or he's wanting him for the headbutt. So you got to do that. You got to use the signs that they do. You got to use them. If you practice as a referee, you ask me questions. What it take to be a good referee? What should referee do to practice? Practice in the gym. Look in front of the mirror. Do your signals. Practice your verbal commands. All right, break, stop, box. All you can't be in conversations with them. Yeah, stop, break, box. You know, and they hear you. You tell me when I tell you stop, break, and box. That's what you got to do in the ring. Don't let me go in there and I have to it'll be breaking you all the time. You guys are heavyweights. I'm gonna try to minimize, you know, my strength.
I'm sure.
Part.
Yeah,
You go, all
I'm
right, break,
sure.
and let it break apart. But if they don't
Out of
break,
all those,
if
yes,
they don't
sorry.
break, all right, listen, that's acceptable. You're holding too much. I tell you, break, you break clean. You understand?
Yeah.
But they continue with the holding. That's where you got to start taking some points.
Out of all the fights you've worked on, which one stands out as the most perfectly judged, if you like, where you felt everything was just spot
Uh, uh,
on?
Roberto Duran versus Iran Barkley was a great
Wow.
fight. If you watch that fight, you can see every round was better and better and better. Great fight. Iran Barkley was 28 years old. Roberto Duran was 35. And
Wow.
Iran Barkley he had just knocked out Tommy Hearns. I believe he knocked out Tommy Hearns twice. And uh, and Tommy Hearns had knocked out Roberto Duran. And nobody gave Duran a chance, but he fought Iran Barkley for the middleweight championship. And like I said before, I treat them. I mean, I know he's 35 years of age, and I know this guy's 28. I know what this guy did with Tommy Hearns. I know Roberto Duran got knocked out by Tommy Hearns. But you know what? As a referee, I go in there with a clean slate. I'm going to be very, very uh, caring. I'm going to watch very close, making sure if somebody gets hurt. And sure enough, uh, in the first round, Roberto Duran hit Barkley with a right hand. He staggered him, and the bell sided. 5 seconds after, the bell sided, and I had to direct Barkley to a neutral corner. He didn't know exactly where he was at. And that's Barkley was the middleweight champion. So it went on. The fight was back and forth, but it was close round. But in the 11th round, Roberto Duran knocked down Iran Barkley with a 4 points combination. Okay, so it goes to show I didn't let his age affect my referee. I took it like a clean slate, like a new fight. But I was
Mhm.
watching him play. If he got hurt, yeah, I would stop it. Or if Barkley got hurt, I would stop it. Anyway, went to a decision, and Roberto Duran won a split decision, became middleweight champion. I just saw him 2 weeks ago in Atlantic City, but I got inducted to the Hall of Fame. He was there to support me for my induction. It was my sixth induction. But the most important one is this one here. When I got
Mhm.
inducted to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, that's what I got inducted with Mike Tyson, Julio
Yeah.
Cesar Chavez, and Sylvester Stallone. I did the Stallone, the Rocky movie, the last one, Rocky Balboa. I did that
Yeah.
movie. I was sitting down on ringside, and I got a tap on that shoulder. I look around. It was Sugar Ray Leonard and Sylvester Stallone. Stallone said, "Hey, Joe, I'm doing a movie, Rocky Balboa. After you get through with the fight, I want your information, okay? I want you to be my referee." So I gave the information. About 3 weeks later, I get a call from MGM Studio.
But
Joe
now
Ray,
you're doing movies. Now you're on the movies as
I
well.
did, I did one with
Fantastic.
Eddie Murphy. Same thing with Eddie Murphy. Came up to me at the fight. He said, Joe, I'm doing a movie, I Spy. Can you be my referee? And I need some help with that. I said, sure. And I did the
Wow.
movie I Spy. I did one with Antonio Banderas, Woody Harrelson, and I did one that was played to the bone. And I did one with Wesley Snipes, Undisputed. So I've been in movies, and I enjoy doing that. And the reason why they selected me for those roles is because they like the way I referee.
Hmm.
It's a show. Plus, everybody knows. Like Sylvester
And
Stallone
you
said,
and you and Joe, to be fair,
Sylvester, Sylvester
great
Stallone said,
charisma.
Joe, you have to say, I'm fair, but I'm firm. But
Exactly. I was going to say you've also got the charisma as well. You've got the charisma for the movie, so
Yes,
you
so as
did.
I said, you got to say that, Joe. So when I brought him together, he was fighting Antonio Tarver. It was Mason Dixon in the movie. I brought them together. I said, okay, guys, one of the rules in the dress room. I want a good clean fight. I looked at Antonio. I looked at Rocky. Give me a clean fight. Remember, guys, I'm fair, but I'm firm. Touch him up. You know, that was it. So I'm
How do
known for
you
that.
how do you hope the future generations of referees remember you and remember your contribution to the sport?
Well, I think referees are doing a good job. I remember when I started going to the United Kingdom back in the '80s. They didn't have many good referees out there, but we used to go there on a regular. They used to bring outside referees to the United Kingdom. But I looked out the referees in the United Kingdom. They do a pretty good job. I watch
Hmm.
them. I mean, they do their homework. They go to the seminars. They're attending clinics and whatnot, which is good. I say that I think now boxing the referees they have today, they have a bunch of good ones all over the world. I've been watching some of the referees, some of them I don't even know. I say, wow, that guy did a hell of a job. That referee should be doing more big fights. I don't even know somebody's referee, but some of the young guys are coming up real good, and some of the middle aged guys. you get to a certain age. I retired at the age of 69. I
Well,
think, I think both referees should retire either a little before that or a year later. When I got my ring at the International Hall of Fame 2011. That's when I started thinking to myself. I had told my wife and my family and friends, guys, they asked me the same question: How long are you going to referee, Joe? I said, well, I think 35 years. So when I got my ring, it was 34 years. I'm going to go out 35 years. And that's what
wow.
I did. I did Canelo Alvarez. It was my last championship fight that year. And I believe it was my sixth world title fight that year. Something like that.
And
Maybe it
look,
was
I mean,
four or
you've
five
got,
championship fight that year.
of course, you've done amazing. I mean, amazing fights. As many, just the list of fights that you've actually done is incredible. Now, if you could referee one more dream fight from any era, who would you put in that ring and why? If you could just, if it could be anyone, you know?
Okay, I would give it Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson.
Of
And
course,
I would
and
like to be. I would love to have been the referee for that. That would have been a good
I,
fight.
I mean, I think, you know what? I think that would be if you put it out there. I think that would be the top choice for. I mean,
No,
it's the age old
in their
argument.
prime, in their prime. Talking about in their
Yeah,
not not halfway through the career, in their prime, like when they had like 25 fights apiece around there. In their
yeah.
prime, they were still in the late 20s, around there, 25 to 30, around there. Both of them, that would be a good time to get Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. But one time when I did I never refereed Muhammad Ali, but when I did Mike Tyson, when he went the distance the first time, he fought a fighter by the name of James Quick Tillis up
Mhm.
in New York State. And I remember I refereed the fight and went the distance, and I saw that Mike, he won, but he had a little difficulty with a tall fighter. He was about 6'1", 6'2". He had good reach. He had quick tillers. They call him the cowboy. He always wear a cowboy hat. Comes from a state where he had horses and all that. But anyway, he had Mike with a jab. He jab, and Mike was trying to move. He would jab, pop their head with quick right hand. He moving, and Mike was trying to move, and this guy was tagging Mike. I said, man, this guy, and Mike wanted a decision. Mike put him down briefly. The guy got back up, his flash knocked out, but he could put this guy away. That was the first time Mike went the distance. And I said to myself, man, wow, Mike has a tough time with these big, tall guys with low reach like that. I was out thinking about Muhammad Ali. If Ali was to fight Mike, in their prime, will Mike have a difficult time? He had a tough time with James Quick Tillers, even though he beat him. But can you imagine if that would have been Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson both in their prime? That would have been a hell of a fight to watch.
Oh, it'd be absolutely great, Joe. It's been an absolute pleasure. It really has. And as someone who loves boxing like I do, and you know, and what you've done for the sport over the years, and the fact that I've been able to talk to you, it's been an absolute pleasure, and it's an honour to get a masterclass and an understanding of how some of boxing's toughest decisions are made. So thank you very, very much, and
Yeah,
everyone would like
and
to
you want
thank
to talk about you guys out there? If you I have a show called the Joe Cortez Show on YouTube channel.
you.
The
Yeah.
Joe Cortez Show, I do it every week, and I bring people from all walks of life on my show. Not only boxing, everybody comes on my show. And one of the things I try to tell the people out there, the youngsters out there, the young folks, the young kids with the gangs, the drugs, the guns and all that. Put down all the drug. Put down the guns and the drugs. You don't have to be dealing with that. I didn't deal with none of that when I was growing up. I joined the boys club. I got into boxing when I was 15 years of age when I first started. When I was 17, I already had won 6 Golden Glove championships, the nationals included. So I mentioned earlier in the show. But I want you guys to understand, please help out your neighbors, help the senior citizens out there too. They also got senior citizens that live by themselves. You got parents or somebody next door, your next door neighbor. Go by, knock on the door, see if they need anything from the store. Check out your neighbors. But these kids, talk to these kids, get these kids involved with sports. It doesn't have to be boxing. It could be any sport. It could be soccer. It could be basketball. Any sport.
That sense of
You know,
community, right? Family,
yeah,
community.
keep it busy. But that's what I love doing. I love talking to the young kids, and I love talking to seniors. Personally, I love everybody out there. I want to help out wherever I can. I want to just do the best I can to make this a better world.
That's a pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute honour. Thank you.